Musgrove's had some pretty decent success against you guys when he's faced you. I guess talk about that challenge and maybe can you make adjustments coming in tonight to maybe improve your chances of success?
Yeah, I mean, Musgrove, heck of a competitor. I got to work out with him 3-4 off seasons ago, so I kind of know how the guy ticks. Just a true competitor. So we know he's going to bring it tonight. The stuff speaks for itself, right? Like, he was within the Cy Young conversation, I know, for the bulk of the first half. Ended super well. We all saw what he did against the Mets and against the Dodgers, so we know he can take down a lineup. We had some good success against him in San Diego. I've said this, multiple times throughout this playoff run, but we kept him in the strike zone then. I don't know how many walks there were, but multiple walks, not too many strikeouts, and that's, where this guy lives. He gets a lot of chase, does a lot of strike to ball. So, we'll have to make adjustments. We'll obviously use the information that we have and can gather from the last couple of starts against two pretty good offenses. But getting this guy in the strike zone with the couple of elite breaking balls that he has is going to be key tonight.
Mike, here on the right.
Hey, Rhys. After game one, Zach Wheeler said the postseason has felt like a blur to him. Just wondering how it's felt to you, and have you tried to sort of take a moment and make sure you're taking it all in and not miss anything? Yeah,
definitely a blur. I'll agree with Wheels there, especially as a first-timer being in the postseason. It all happens fast, right? As soon as the game's over, it's on to the next. There's travel back and forth. There's obviously tons of information. A lot of stuff goes on off the field before the games and post-game. So, but that's what makes it special, I think. It's definitely different than the 162 in the regular season. In terms of trying to take it all in, of course, this is why we play. This is what we dream of as competitors and as athletes. Sometimes during the game, not really. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on whatever's going on the field. But post-game, pre-game, just kind of looking up into the stands. Obviously, here is a little bit more special on the road, just getting to see the sea of red. But I think we also have the blinders on, right? And that's something that I think helps us keep focused and always, trying to stay ready for the next thing that's coming.
Tyler, far left.
Rhys, I want to ask you about JT Realmuto. You played against him when he was with the Marlins. What stood out to you about him? What impressed you about him as an opponent? And what did you learn? What have you learned as a teammate about what makes him so good?
Yeah, so 17 and 18 played against him when he was a Marlin. First and foremost, just the sheer athleticism. This guy does things on the baseball field that not a lot of players can do, let alone a lot of catchers. And so that's first and foremost. As I've gotten to know him and be around him as a teammate, just the way that he goes about preparing. He's an offensive player, but also has a lot of responsibility with the pitchers and game planning for the other team. And it starts for him at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon, just game planning with these guys, having conversations, pouring belief into whatever their game plan is tonight. That type of thing is kind of what I've noticed. It just makes him a great teammate also. You couple the athleticism and the outstanding ball player that he is as a catcher, and then getting to know the teammate behind that has been something special for a lot of us, but specifically me.
John, down here in front.
Rhys, I believe it's 16 of 18 on the road. And first of all, how good does it feel to be back home for 3? And what were the pros and cons of being on the road during this run? And also maybe any extra bonding with the team getting closer?
Yeah, sure. 20 straight days on the road, then just home for what felt like a blink and right back on the road. Yeah, we're around each other for, 14 hours a day, 12, 14 hours a day for 7 months straight. And then you couple that, you kind of take a lot of the families out when we go on the road. We have to spend time with each other. But that's a good thing. That's where that chemistry that's talked about is built. That's where that trust is built. and when you can trust the guy, next to you on the field or behind you in a lineup, it makes the downs last a little longer and or a little shorter, and the highs last a little longer. But there's nothing like playing at home, especially, we got a little bit of a taste of it last weekend. We've been talking about it really ever since, and we feel like we have an advantage here because of the way that the crowd and the energy was last weekend. We're pretty confident coming into this weekend.
Jesse, back left.
Rhys, similar question about Real Muto, but with Schwarber. He's been on a lot of playoff teams now. Is that a coincidence, or does he bring something to the table that's a little unique?
Yeah, I don't think that's an accident. He won when he was in college also. As soon as he got into the big leagues, was with the Cubs making runs and winning. The Red Sox last year. So he's done it in a lot of different places, and when that usually happens, that tends to not be an accident. Some guys just have that knack. They know what it takes to win. They know how to bring guys together, which I think has probably been some of the most important stuff that he's done in a Phillies uniform. Obviously, the 46 home runs and hitting leadoff and all of the statistics speak for themselves, but just the way that he brings a multitude of different type of people together, to chase one common goal is something that I think should be talked about more, and probably will be talked about a lot when, we talk about this group.
Lauren on the right side.
Rhys, you touched on the home environment. I obviously wasn't here, but I heard about the decibel levels and how loud it was for the fans and for the reporters. What was it like for you as a player, and how does this compare to other environments you've played in?
Yeah, first of all, I'm excited for you. I hope you brought some earplugs. It'll be loud. It was loud. The thing that I noticed the most was literally immediately stepping out into the dugout before introductions even started, and then just how constant people were cheering or yelling or clapping, standing up. It didn't seem like there was a point during the game where everybody was sitting down. Just portions of some of the stadium always standing up, cheering, clapping. So when you have that constant noise, that constant cheer behind you, that constant energy, obviously makes it a lot easier to play for us, but it makes, the opposing team, their minds are a little more clouded, I think, having, some experience with that, playing on the road in some of these atmospheres that we've played in. So should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what the crowd, the fans have in store for us tonight, but I'm sure it's going to be more than it was last weekend, given the circumstance.
Jake, all the way back left.
You talked a little bit about how the energy of the postseason is different than the regular season, and for you, this is your first postseason run. I'm curious about the gameplay on the field. Have you noticed any differences in how the games are managed, the at-bats that you're taking, whether the way bullpens are being used, and how that has, struck you as someone who is going through this for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, definitely different, right? Like, some of the schedule allows managers to do different things with some staffs, and bullpen pieces. You kind of seem to see the same 3 to 4 to 5 guys, in the game. Most of these games are close, and when that's the case, you use your guys because you want to continue to have a chance. Base runners are way more coveted in these games, and as soon as you get a guy on, either offensively, you're like, okay, here we go. This is going to be one of the few chances we have, or on the other side, defensively, it's like, okay, we got a guy on here. We need to make sure that we're playing clean baseball here. You can feel the intensity just click up a little bit. Just, I think, mostly from the crowd, but that's the type of thing that I think is the biggest difference between now and the regular season is hit by pitch, a walk, just getting a guy on is you can feel just the kind of the energy boost and the morale boost in the dugout because we got a chance to score, and those come few and far between.
Hannah.
You talk about sort of what's different about playing in the postseason, but then also having to put those blinders on, focus on the moment in the game. Is that something you've had to learn to do over the course of this experience the first time in the postseason? Is it something guys like Schwarber, who have been there before, can tell you about, or sort of how do you learn to balance those things?
I think both. It would be smart of us to lean on the guys with experience, right? Guys that have done this before, guys that have had success in these types of situations, which we have a lot of them. Yeah, so leaning on those guys is huge. There's a fine line between the blinders and trying to keep it as similar to the regular season as possible, right? Try not to change too much. And that's something that Schwartz has really talked about a lot as well. But I also think, just being within the group that we have makes it a little bit easier to do that. We're just getting lost within the processes before the game, trying to be as prepared as we can, and then kind of letting the talent go speak for itself like we know that we have.
The far left.
Rhys, for those that may not know Ranger Suarez very well, what should we expect to see from him tonight, and what's he like behind closed doors?
Well, Ranger's going to work fast. He's going to get a lot of soft contact because that's what he does. He's probably going to make 3 or 4 plays that'll maybe leave you scratching your head. Just Mr. Cool out there, right? Cool, calm, and collected. Doesn't seem like the moment gets to him very much. And that's pretty much exactly who he is behind closed doors. We call him Mr. Suave. Just as smooth as it can get. Always having a good time, always laughing. As soon as he gets on the mound, obviously, he turns that intensity up, but never seems like he's going too fast, and that's something that I think is what makes him pretty special.
Hey, Rob.
Hi.
Particularly with you as a former minor league catcher, what do you see with JT Realmuto? Two different parts. What stands out in your mind with him, both from a technical catching standpoint and from a pitching staff leadership standpoint?
So JT I've been around Posada, Russell Martin, Pudge Rodriguez. With the Yankees, we had a lot of really good catchers. He is probably more athletic than anybody that I've been around. Strong, tough, physical. You can't tire him out. So being that athletic, he moves very well. He can move his feet, great arm strength, great release. As good as any catcher I've been around, physically. From game management, from the moment he gets to the ballpark, he's looking at how we're going to attack with our starter tonight. He really cares about his pitching staff and the guys that he's got to catch, and really cares about calling a good game and putting the right fingers down or touching the right buttons now. So yeah, he's really something, and I don't know where we'd be without him, to tell you the truth.
Matt on the far left.
Hey, Matt.
There. How much of your in-game bullpen decisions have to be about winning that day's game without thinking about 5 games in 5 days? I mean, is that going to have to enter into your decision-making process at all?
Not so much tonight. But once we get into this 5-game stretch, it's going to play into it. But, tonight everybody's available, and we'll use them like we normally would.
I just wanted to ask, your late game defensive maneuvers have been different at different times. Sometimes you'll go for a guy, sometimes you won't. What factors into those decisions, whether or not you want to make those moves?
How close the game is, what inning we're in, and where their bats coming.
In the middle on the aisle.
Hey, Rob, you've had a couple of your coaches now mentioned in rumors for managerial jobs. What have Kevin Long and Dusty Wathan meant to you as you've transitioned from bench coach to manager?
Yeah, really, the entire staff means so much to me because they're all so good. I'd put our staff up against anybody's, but, I lean on Dusty a lot because, he's managed so many games in the minor leagues, and he understands the game so well. And as I've said before, I think this guy should have been managing years ago in the big leagues. As far as Kevin's concerned, you know, Kevin and I have a long time relationship, and he just he's so good for me because he keeps me grounded, he keeps me balanced, and he's got so much energy that when the players come to the cage, if they're tired, by the time they leave the cage, they're full of energy and they're ready to go. So getting those guys prepared in that way he's a genius at it.
Tim on the left.
Rob, given the dust up in New York regarding Musgrove 12 days ago or so, does that, going into the start, pique your curiosity, change the way you prepare in terms of scouting and looking at what's happening with him, and then third, change the way you watch the game as he's going through it?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll just play the game like we normally would. Now, that doesn't say that doesn't mean that if I think a guy's cheating out there, I'm going to call him on it. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to call him on it to, you know, for head games or anything like that. That's not something I do, and I'm sure Buck didn't do that either. But I think we just play the game the way it's normally played, and we'll watch and see, and if we think that a guy's cheating intentionally, we'll call him on it.
Jim, down here on the right.
For tomorrow's starting pitcher, will who you have to use tonight figure into that decision?
Yes.
So guys that are under consideration for tomorrow would be employed tonight? You're not holding people back?
No, everybody's on board tonight, and then we'll figure it out after the game.
Okay. How much will matchups early in the game dictate?
I'll let you know when that happens. I'm really not sure. You know, it all depends. I mean, if we get into an extra inning game, we have to use all those long guys, and I mean, we have to. You know, if there's no pitching left, and then we got to figure it out tomorrow.
Todd.
I know you guys plan out pitching like days in advance. You're looking, you know, you're probably already looking Game 6 at how it might play out. Could you see a scenario where you have a reliever go 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row? Is that
I can't
is that
see
insane?
that. I can't see
4
that.
days in a row too?
Yeah, I can't see 4 in a row. I mean, none of these guys have gone 3 in a row. So I think at that point you're putting a guy's career in jeopardy. Now, I mean, if a guy goes in and gets a hitter today and a hitter tomorrow and an inning the next day, and he comes in and goes, Thomson, I'm completely fine. And it wouldn't be Sir Anthony, but because I wouldn't do that to Sir Anthony because of the injury history. But I mean, you know, we'd maybe look at it, but yeah, I'm not going to put a guy's career in jeopardy.